I'm in beautiful San Diego, California again, and I'm down here visiting a daughter, and I wanted to make a little video. Um, and today I'm gonna title this video "Understanding Sound Currency," or perhaps sound currency in a nutshell. And people really need to understand the imperative nature of what's being said when people talk about sound currency versus unsound currency. Well, to get started here, I think it's important to understand the history of money and understand just how far back this concept goes. Thousands of years. At least 2,000 years ago, when Jesus walked the earth, he spoke very clearly and concisely about money. And he explained it as a competing master, a type of a god, the god of this world, because it had such power and this ability to captivate the hearts and minds and souls and spirits of men. And so he did not mince words when he spoke, and he told the people that the love of money, so the love of this God of this world, this established God that is accepted universally as having great power. I mean, I spend money too. So in a sense, you could call me a hypocrite, but in my heart, God knows better. That if I had my way, I would want to live in a world free of money entirely. To me, that's an ideal society. That to me is heaven. And we have been so inculcated, so imbued with this false God that we can hardly understand how a society could even operate without money. And first I want to touch on arriving at that place, that ideal society, gradually, and how the rulers of this world will not tolerate that because they're invested in the God of this world, in this money God, so to speak. And it is not in their interest to liberate, to free humanity, to where when we serve one another, we serve on a 100% voluntary basis, as opposed to the status quo, to the way it is now. We serve one another on an involuntary basis through coercion. Our work is drudgery for one reason and one reason only, because we have bills to pay. And if we don't go out and make that money, serve the God of this world, then we don't pay our bills. We end up indigent, homeless, dying in the bushes somewhere like so many others, increasingly so. Now, I want to explain the relationship, the core relation between fear and reverence. Now, when people are financially insecure, they're frustrated. They have a sense of fear. Insecurity is a definite form of fear. It's a perverted form of reverence for the rulers of this world, who are under the influence, wittingly or unwittingly, of Satan. Some wittingly, definitely. There are Satan worshipers at the very top that want to eliminate upwards of 90% of the human race. And getting into why they want to do that is a whole nother story. But they're well on their way to achieving it through financial oppression. Because when you oppress people financially enough, when you increase that fear level enough, people start taking their own lives. They start losing their desire to live. They're disheartened. Okay? It makes people want to cut their wrists. And many people do this in a less hazardous manner through addictions. It's escapism of one form, entertainment, retail therapy, gluttony, drug use, alcohol use, a number of many other vices that people get to deal with the pain of living in this world that they know instinctively, but they can't usually put it into words what's really bugging them. But thank God I was able to get to the bottom, because I was so interested in what was really bugging me about the system, and I've pinpointed it. And it's the fact that the God of this world, this money God, is unsound. And it's been intentionally made unsound, and people would say, well, why would the people that established it make it unsound? They can't make it sound. It's a competing master for God's affections, God's attention that he is only worthy of, the creator, the owner of your heart, your mind, your spirit, your soul, the one that's going to decide where you go when you go through that door, the big sleep in this world, the thing they call death. So it's very important to be in right relationship with the true God. Okay, you can understand why that's so important. Now, if we had sound currency, what you'd see happening gradually, the evidence, the litmus test that would prove that you had sound currency is that your currency would be worth a little more every day. And yes, I'm using currency in relation to money, because it's just another term that works. So it's a medium of exchange. And under supply and demand principles, very basic principles that we really can understand instinctively, if we look deep down inside, we know these things. We know, for instance, if half the people left our town, that the housing prices are probably going to drop because there'll be so much vacant housing. And so your cost of living would go down because of this oversupply. And it's the same thing down the line. You expect, if the car factories are producing plenty of automobiles, well, then the price is supposed to go down because of overproductivity, oversupply. When there's oversupply, the cost of living is supposed to go down. This is the only way you can reward the laborers, the workers, is that their burden goes down. So in other words, they have to work less hours per week. At the same time, simultaneously, concurrently, their money is worth more every single day. Do you understand? What supply and demand principles, if allowed to work, will create a rising tide of prosperity that do not lift just some of the ships, but it would create a rising tide of prosperity that lifted all of the ships. That's the kind of world I want to live in. That's the world I'm striving for. I've spent most of my life as a very frustrated, angry guy because of these reasons, because we don't have sound currency, and the rulers of this world will not tolerate it, because they know the very same things I'm telling you right now, is that sound currency would eventually lead to the solution of all humanity's solvable problems. It's important to distinguish solvable from unsolvable. We cannot solve natural disasters. We cannot solve accidents. We cannot solve disease completely. We cannot solve death. We cannot solve predation. There's a lot of things about just being born on this planet that are very dangerous. It's a tenuous existence at best. So we all must fundamentally understand that not everything's going to be rosy all of a sudden if we had full liberation, full freedom on earth through sound currency, which would lead to that. And it would lead to that because eventually it would become a silly game. We'd all have so much currency, we'd all feel so secure, so prosperous, so fortunate, so grateful and appreciative to one another that things would work effortlessly. To serve one another would be like playing, because we enjoy working. This is what you don't hear much about. But the human being is not content to be self-serving, to be selfish, to be hedonist all the time. We want to express our God-given talents. We're creative, we're inventive. We want to serve each other. We want to make somebody happy. We want to feel that genuine love, that we know there was no ulterior motive. I didn't serve you because I needed something from you, because I was born rich. In fact, that's how I would establish economics on this planet. If I had my way, I believe that would be the way God would run it. It's understood at birth we're equal, so our share in the planet is equal, and therefore, essentially, we're all born trillionaires. So the whole thing would be moot from the get-go. Our paradigm, our reality would be set in stone from Jump Street, from the get-go. You would understand that you were born into a voluntary existence, and you were serving humanity because you darn well wanted to, and that everybody out there that was serving humanity was doing it for one reason, and one reason only, because they darn well wanted to, and nothing by God was going to stop them. Do you understand how screwed up we've all become because of this system? All of us, and I include myself because I'm a human being. I get it. But you know what? We don't have to love the God of this world, okay? We can hate the behavior of the God of this world and its minions. It is a challenger to truth. It is a challenger to the sovereign authority of the Almighty Creator God, who put the universe in motion, who's got our solar system spinning around like a fine Swiss watch. I mean, the whole thing's absolutely incredible. We're cosmic creatures. We're like little gods. And what our parents want to give us is what's logical and reasonable. What does any decent parent want to give their children? They want to give them everything. They want to protect them from harm. They want them to be happy. Okay, they want them to be at peace. They want them free. Okay, they want them joyful. These things make sense. And so it makes even more sense to say this is how the Creator of the universe feels about us and wants for us. He wants us to evolve to a state where everything is perfect and right, not for some, but for everybody, because we're one big family. And through osmosis, you're going to feel your share of suffering of others, whether you're aware of it or not. It's an inextricable universal law, okay? And they're immutable. Nobody gets away without paying their dues. It's just the way it is, you know, and it's built that way for a reason, because God wants us to care about each other. This is simply valuing your conscience, whereby so often in this world, this system, people don't value their conscience, and they see people that value their conscience, these people that live by the golden rule, let's say, as idiots, worthy to be trampled under the hooves of the shrewd, okay? Because the shrewd so often see themselves as the smart ones, but they're not smart, okay? If you're buying your own ticket to hell, okay, how smart is that? When you get to go to a very hot place for a very long time and hang out with people just like yourself, elitist hypocrites, okay, that live by a double standard, that you say, I'm okay with having an advantage, having, you know, to have the God of this world work for me, money, okay, and I'm okay with other people not having that advantage, the God of this world, this money, this false God, okay? And I'm not okay with it, and I'll never be okay with it. I'm not okay with you being okay with it. See, I'm your best friend. You might see me as rebuking you in a sense, but perhaps I am, but this is to save your soul, man. If you don't value, okay, where you're going from here, you know, and inheriting a better world where humanity is more at peace and not less every day, like it is in this system right now. Poverty is exploding. This is November 11th, Veterans Day, 2013. And as I speak, I mean, we've got record numbers of people on food stamps. Now they're starting to cut the food stamps to keep people in fear. This is their way of extracting that perverted form of reverence I talked to you about. Because when people say you should fear God, they're really talking about the good form of fear. Reverence. This is the only one that deserves it and is worthy, is the Creator that owns your soul, okay? He owns your body, okay? You can't keep your body. If you can't keep something, you don't really own it. You're just using it. It's like it's rented, it's temporal. And, you know, we should all be aware of these things.